what I want to share with you guys is that there's in the Bay Area, like right now, when I'm thinking about this, Zuckerberg gave $1 billion to help with the homeless. A guy named Mark Benioff from Salesforce gave $300 million, and this young guy from St. Louis who runs Twitter, Jack Dorsey, just donated $1 billion again, and that's for COVID, which includes many of our veterans' homes and things like that. What are ways we can use to educate? So our donor base, our philanthropy group out there, you guys just have to step out and believe that your voices can be heard on podcasts like this, because we can get them to help ally and asset not just the VA, but the veteran themselves and their families. So I urge you guys to step out and tell your stories, because both of you, James and Randy, you have great stories. Helping veterans with housing, helping veterans right now find their rights and legitimate things. Really important work, guys. Really important.
Yeah.
Well, and along those lines too, Michael, I think we just found out that Governor Newsom is looking to close another veterans home down in Southern California. Where's that one? You guys didn't, not Barstow, but there's one down in, I think down by Mojave.
It's huge too. It's a huge.
Yeah. So, and I know what it looks like to grow up in a community, you know, of veterans. I grew up in this town of Yountville. The veterans home's been here since 1884 or whatever it is. And, you know, these guys are part of our community, gals, and they've been in, you know, they've been in this community for forever. And to have one of those institutions close it's devastating to that community, and not only to the community, but to the veterans, especially the veterans. Yeah.
The symbolism behind it is to remind people that we cannot forget what we have been given as a gift, freedom. And the most powerful gift you get is to be able to ice with all politicians. Intervene, confront, enlighten. Don't blame them. Don't accuse them. Don't try to shun or shame or attack, because blame is me at the end with blah, blah, blah in front. And what works better than anything is to enlighten them and to tell them this should not be. And I think sometimes voices of veterans who have experienced those closures are just as important, and to find ways through technology how to present those voices to people and say, you know, guys like you two,
Hunter.
Perfect examples of how to find that voice out there. There's so many that need just to hear, and those politicians will listen. When you come passionately and honestly, it works. Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
We, Tim and I were out at the, so at the VA hospital there in Yountville that he's talking about. They have a little 9-hole golf course kind of right on the grounds of it. And of course, a little clubhouse where you can eat, and a little bar and everything. We were out there 6 months ago, just went out and played 9 holes, and then went in to have lunch after. And there's this guy that kind of came in. He had a Marine Corps cap on, and he's making the round, social butterfly, you know, the whole place. And we said hello and everything. And then as we got up to leave, we're walking out, and he said, "Oh, you're taking off?" I said, "Yeah, Marine, we're out of here." He goes, "Oh, Marine Corps?" I said, "Yeah." So we kind of started talking about that, and then he just goes right down the row, and he's just like, he's Marine, he's Nate. You know, of course, everyone there seemed to be connected, veterans. And he said, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, we have a new nonprofit," and this, I kind of just gave him the quick elevator pitch on what we're going to be doing. And he said, "Well, when can I sign up?" And then the next guy, me too. I mean, just right as we're standing there, there's 3 or 4 guys just within 5 feet of us that all needed it, and they're right there at this hospital that, as Tim said, has been there since the 1800s. And now you're thinking about closing hospitals, and even me not knowing, I think, oh, why would somebody that's living at the VA hospital need dental care? Isn't that taken care of there? Like, Right, exactly. I see you shaking your head, James, but I'm like, but that's me thinking that, and I'm like starting this organization with Tim. So what does the general public think?
Yeah, and again, what these guys and gals provide for this community is invaluable. You know, we just lost an old timer. I saw in the paper a while back. This old gentleman, Bill. I think he was an Army guy, and he was notorious for just coming into the famous restaurants in the Napa Valley up here and walking in and telling jokes, and you know, he was just kind of a character in the community, and everybody fell in love with Bill. You know. And now Bill's gone, but there's a whole cast of characters out there in these communities that that have served and are invaluable to that community. So
I always call them these statues of freedom. You know, they have in their soul, they possess wisdom and knowledge of what we lived through in order to provide freedom. And it's important for people in the community to be consistently reminded of this, because we all know, I mean, we all say it's not a platitude. Freedom ain't free. Right. And the first thing that anybody heard when, I don't need Peggy Noonan to write me The Boy's a Point Too Hot. I sat with many men who took those cliffs and cried with them and laughed with them, because what we have now going on with a lot of our vets isn't post-traumatic stress disorder, but present traumatic stress disorder. And they need for us to hear their voices and their sorrows. And one of the great things is unaddressed grief can turn to anger and rage because they feel like folks are indifferent. And America cannot afford indifference, for sure.
No.
We can't look the other way to our veterans.
Yeah.
It costs them too much and their families too much. So that's why guys like you are really important to this, and we need to be stepping out of the shadows of worrying about what people say or do and bringing light to this and enlightening these politicians and holding them accountable in a good way. I don't want to put them down or blame them or get involved in their politics. That's not what I'm about. Mm-hmm. I say take care of the wounded, keep moving, lots of wounded. Life is trio.
Yeah.
James, I feel very privileged to have you here. Just I want to kind of say that if it hasn't come clear yet.
Oh, thank you.
You know, having someone from the VA on here with us, you know, at this stage of where we are with our organization as well, you know, we had to kind of pump the brakes a little bit when the shelter in place stuff came on, but we've continued our momentum regardless. And I feel like the knowledge we're gaining now as we move back out there and as we bring our trailer up here, it's going to be, in the end, it's going to set us up for greater success. But what I wanted to know was, you know, do you have what could you share with us as an organization that we need to know, should know, or want to know moving forward with, as we start working with veterans who have certain feelings about the VA, how the VA's treated them? How can we help? How can we help? How can we help more?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm humbled. Thank you for having me on the show. I start off as a fan. Now I'm a big fan. So, you know, listening to Mike and Dr. Tim and yourself, Steve, and also Randitto, who's my lifelong best friend. By the way, Michael, I'm stealing ICE. I love that acronym. I love what it stands for. It stands for action. And you're right, to take an adversarial role versus an angry role is the best way to partner. And I spoke with Steve a little bit about a program that I think we can benefit from moving forward. And I know Dr. Tim talked about using the USG or GA, the golfing tour as a sponsorship. But the VA actually partnered with our out-of-town community providers, because just like what Michael said, our biggest deficits in providing health coverage are mental and dental. These are two areas that a veteran can't afford to wait 45 days for an appointment. It just can't happen. You know, now we've gone for someone who might need somebody to talk to flooding the suicide hotline, because 45 days is just an unsatisfactory amount of time to have to wait. And so, and to that, if you're in pain, if you have an abscess, or, you know, you can't wait for 2 months for a dental appointment. So
Yeah, that abscess is not going to wait.
yeah, yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we set up this program. It's called that uses kind of a voucher system. And so basically what it was set up and meant to do was, if a veteran goes to the VA hospital, sees their regular physician or provider, and the provider deems that there's what we call specialized help needed, whether it's mental, whether it's dental, they give them basically a voucher and say, take this voucher out in town and show it to the providers, basically a promissory note from the government that you give the veteran these services which were referred by their primary physician, and we, the government, will pay your bill. And so it started off, on a blaze of fire. It was working really well. It just wasn't funded enough. And so it kind of slowed down because the providers were getting a little upset that they weren't getting paid timely, or in some cases weren't getting paid at all. But this program, I think, would be great for us to get involved with, because every physician, getting the referral is the easy part. And so I think getting into this program would also be a great way to get some sponsorship to where we could cover costs, do some marketing, and increase what we're doing × 3.
I think, James, you're absolutely right. And I think partnering with the government, the VA, and with corporate and community partnerships and healthcare providers who can step up and see maybe adding discounts in, that's where we need to live with our veterans and help them, so that they know that they're guaranteed for life, and their families know they're guaranteed for life, that we actually do care and will step up to make sure their dental and mental health is addressed. So good. And
Yeah.
You know what? Just for you, because you have done all these things, working in corrections and all these things, you're a good man, sir. You're a great.
Thank you.
I'm saying that.
Hang on. I want my wife to hear you say that. Can you hang on for just a second?
You know what Jim Carrey said? Behind every great man, there's a wife rolling her eyes.
James, if you look at his Facebook post, he is like the most in love you'd ever picture a person. And for people like, that's not that I'm not sentimental, but he makes it hard for us to try to keep up.
Oh, whatever.
The candy and the vacations and the hotels and oh my Lord, they have, and coronavirus, they're having date night in the back of a Jeep out in the
Hey, happy wife, happy life, Randy. You haven't learned that yet?
Hey, I remember your first one.
Yeah. Everybody needs a practice one. Everybody should try it once.
That was a practice, right?
Yeah.
Hey, there's that word practice again there, Gatlin.
Oh, practice, yeah. The dental practice.
I seem to be practicing a lot of things.
I won't let my wife join his Facebook page. If she sees that, I'm done.
Thank you for joining us in the Barracks. To learn more about our hosts, guests, and how to support Vets Mobile Dental Unit, visit www.inthebarracks.org.